Hey guys, we're starting a new series this Sunday on the life of David that's going to take us through the rest of the semester. And this week we're starting looking at David's younger years as he displays some humility and patience and great trust in the Lord as he waits for God to fulfill his promise to him that he would be the next king of Israel. Those are the stories, the narratives that we're going to be looking at, and the lessons we'll pull out of that are the characteristics that we need to emulate David in order to wait well on the Lord. We're going to need a sense of humility and a trust that God will actually bring about what he has promised. And we're also going to look at the situations that we're sometimes faced with where we could jump into action and take action ourselves, or we could sit back and wait and trust the Lord to work apart from us. And neither option is sinful, and both seem, equally plausible and justifiable, and we're just not sure which one should we do. And the lesson we'll pull out of that is that we should seek to be led by the Spirit more than we are just led by our natural inclination. Most of us are naturally predisposed to be a little quicker to jump up and take action, or naturally disposed to be kind of sit back and wait and see kind of people. And we want the Spirit to lead us, not kind of our natural instincts and inclinations that we might be more prone to follow if we don't take intentional measures to be led by the Spirit instead. So that's where the lesson is going. Discussion questions. You can start with comments and questions and clarifications if anybody has any of that at the beginning. And then you've got 5 other questions to get through if you can. The first real question is just to get people talking. What are some examples of times when you need to wait on the Lord? And then what are some examples of maybe that second situation where it's not really clear whether or not you should take action or wait? There will be some obvious situations where we have to wait and the situation is out of our control that people can think of really quickly. Just general situations. The second one may be a little bit harder. Try to maybe take some time, if you have it, to think of a personal example from your life, if you can, where it seemed plausible, justifiable to do either take action or to wait, and you weren't really sure which one to do. See if you can think of a situation like that in your own life to share with students, and maybe they can come up and challenge them to come up with one of their own. So that's just giving some examples of how this actually applies into our lives. The next question is another quick one, just asking students which bent are you? Are you a more aggressive, active, go-getter, take action personality type, or are you a little bit more of sit back, wait, passive personality type? Most people are at least slightly bent one way or the other. Some people are strongly bent one way or the other, and that's a good thing to know about yourself, especially with the lesson we're talking about on Sunday. So that can be just a poll the room question, depending on how much time you have, of raise your hand if you're more prone to act quickly, and raise your hand if you're more prone to sit back and wait. So that doesn't have to take very long, but gives students an opportunity to, again, apply the lesson directly to themselves, take it out of the abstract and into the personal. The next question is, what about, we're talking about these situations where it's not clear whether we should take action maybe, or if we should sit back and wait on the Lord. What about when that situation, like a decision needs to be made really, really quickly, almost immediately? That's kind of where David finds himself in the examples that we'll give. What do we do then when we don't have time to go back and pray and take a couple of days to consider? What if we need a decision right then and there? What do we do? And I think we need to get in the habit that it seems David was in the Psalms of making this a regular prayer for the Lord to lead us and guide us, make our paths straight. Would he prompt us day by day in these little decisions we have to make? Another one is this is a personal story for me recently as we were stuck in Newark on the way to Zambia, or hoping we were on the way to Zambia, and we had kind of almost exhausted all of our options about how we were going to get out of Newark and get to Johannesburg. And me and Vaughn are at the airport, and we've been working on this for a day and a half now, and it's coming close to decision time of either we're going to press forward and drop half of our team, or we're going to turn around and go back home and hope that we can make the trip turn around quickly and come back. And Vaughn led well in that, we're a million thoughts are flying in your head trying to make that decision. And he was like, let's stop and let's pray. And he just prayed for the Lord to give us wisdom, give us guidance, prompt us one way or the other. And that's not necessarily a story of I can either act or wait. It was kind of a story of we have to act and we've got to make a decision one way or the other. But it's very similar of, both decisions were hard. Neither one seemed obviously correct. And so we needed guidance from the Spirit. There's no Bible verse that you could go to answer that problem and make that decision. And yet you want the Lord to guide your steps. And so most people, in my experience and talking about myself personally, are not like that of I've got to make a decision here really fast. Let me pause and even take 20 seconds to pray. We don't think about that at all. We just, we're much more prone to just follow our own wisdom, our own instincts, our own natural inclinations, and we've got to try to become a people that rely and lean more on the Lord, even if it's just a quick prayer to immediately acknowledge, like, I don't know what to do here. I need the Spirit to move in my heart one direction or the other, and asking for that to happen is a habit that most of us don't have in our lives, and maybe we should try to cultivate. Last two questions. One author talks about, and this is just an important distinction to make, even when we choose to jump into action in bold faith, kind of like David does in the story of David and Goliath, instead of waiting, he jumps in and takes action, and it says, I'll go out and I'll fight him. Even when we do that, we're still, in a sense, waiting on the Lord. And so you want to ask, how is that? What does that mean? Why does this author choose to say that? And the point you're trying to drive home here is that even in our actions, we still want to pursue our action in reliance upon the Lord. Too often there becomes this natural distinction we make in our own minds of, when I choose to wait on the Lord and not do anything, then I'm dependent on Him, and all of my marbles are in that basket. But when I choose to take action, then it's on me, and I'm reliant upon myself and what I can do. And we don't want that distinction to exist. We want to even when we step out in bold faith and decide to take action, we want to still be in recognition that we're completely reliant on the Lord to bring any success in that action. And I've got two Psalms there for you a couple verses to read that reiterate that point and come from the mouth of David. Last question is more about the first situation when we're kind of forced to wait. And you want to ask, what do you think allowed David to have this robust trust and faith that God is actually going to fulfill His promise when he is like sleeping in caves, sleeping in the wilderness? He's been waiting over 10 years. Saul's tried to take his life multiple times and has almost done it. What gives David the perpetual faith that God is, and trust that God is actually going to bring about what He said He was going to do? And I think part of the answer is that David had past faithfulness to draw on. David had seen God be faithful in his action to take on Goliath. God had been faithful in delivering David from Saul's hands several times up to that point. God had been with David as he went into battle several times up to that point. And so David, I believe, is looking back on the faithfulness that God has shown him previously that gives him confidence that God is going to continue to be faithful in the future. This song that we sing upstairs, I think, is a good example of that. The song, I've Witnessed It. We sung it a bunch previously. We haven't sung it in a while now. It talks about how we've seen the faithfulness of the Lord, and that gives us confidence that we're going to see the faithfulness of the Lord again. And then I want you to, hopefully if you have time, and so if you feel like you're running out of time and you need to skip ahead to this and skip a previous question, that's fine. But a quick activity to do is give students, this doesn't have to take long, 60 seconds, 90 seconds to pause and think of how God has been faithful to them in the past. How has he brought them out of darkness, depression, sin, how he has pursued them when they didn't care that much about him, or clung to them when they were close to letting go. Whatever it may be, how has God been faithful to you in the past? And meditate on that, remember that, in order to give you confidence that God will continue to be faithful and fulfill the promises that he gives us in his word in the future. And so that's just a quick activity. You can have them journal that and write that down, write it on their phones, just think about it and pray about it, whatever they want to do. You can lead that time as you see fit. But that's discussion groups for this week, and I'll see you guys on Sunday.